Hello, welcome, good morning, good evening to all of you for the March 2024 Workspace for Education partner briefing. My name is James Leonard. I lead the channel team here, and I'm excited to be back and see hopefully many of you. I was out on a bit of parental leave, but back in the saddle, as they say, and excited to share a whole lot of updates with you for Workspace for Education for the month of March. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And we'll start with our normal reminder that everything presented today is confidential and under NDA. We are sharing some really exciting announcements around our AI portfolio for education. And this is especially important today. So please, under the partner contract that you've signed, keep this within your organizations. And we want to be able to continue sharing as much as we can about these really exciting updates that we have. So with that, let's take a look at what we've got. So I'm kicking it off with 7 announcements, some that are specific to recent launches, order operations updates, and training opportunities. I'm then going to pass it over to Vivek, who leads our efforts for Gemini Education as our product manager. And he's going to share via this partner briefing, the first time to a broad partner audience of global partners, our exciting news about our launch of the Gemini Education SKUs. And then I'll pass it over to my colleague Fabi, who is going to share a bit more about some recent partner incentives updates. So a packed agenda. We're going to do our best to get right into it. Hopefully have enough time for questions at the end, which we expect there to be many. And again, it's just great to have you all here, and let's go ahead and get started. So kicking right into important announcements. For many of you in countries that were affected by recent pricing changes, you now have about 2 or 3 weeks under your belt with new pricing and licensing changes. So we wanted to just recap here what has gone into effect on February 20th, and then what everyone can expect across all regions in June, the specific date forthcoming. So just to clarify, as we announced back in November and have continued to work with our partners on, pricing changes primarily impacting non-US markets rolled out, and those rolled out beginning on February 20th for new customers. So what are these changes? So some of those changes involved moving to this idea of a global list price and adjusting some country-specific discounts to make them more visible, as well as our multi-year discounting structure to make it more visible to customers to understand if there was a discount available in their particular country. So for new business, transacting new Education Plus, Standard, or teaching and learning licenses, those new business orders now have fallen into the period where they'll be affected by these new pricing changes. Additionally, any regional discounts for Education Standard, that was one of the major changes that has also moved into play, into general availability. Price differentiation for the teaching and learning upgrade on the flexible plan has also rolled out for new business. Again, for those customers who are on an existing subscription, we wanted to give them time to understand what their budgets were looking like. And that's why we notified the partners and customers of these changes starting in the latter half of Q4 with enough lead time for not only new business, but now we have still several months until these changes roll forward to existing customers. On that note, we will communicate the date as soon as we have it from our engineering counterparts. So the time frame that we have for you is between June and July. We're still looking at that time frame for when these changes will roll out to new customers. But as soon as we have confirmation of that date, we'll share it via partner briefings, via broad communications, and also in our pricing calculator. It will be visible loud and clear. So just to remind everyone where we're at, we started actually with a partner briefing back in October and MSAs that rolled out in November alongside help articles, public help articles, made web updates in February. And here we are right at the beginning of March, where we're now a couple weeks into the pricing changes that have rolled out for new customers and new orders. And we still do have this sort of 4-month time frame for changes for renewals. So please, what we ask of you is to get ahead of those renewals. Of course, we'll be in touch with a more specific date, but any renewals, from June onward, you should start to, get pricing ready according to the renewals pricing. And then we'll follow up with a more specific date. Always easier to dial back expectations if that date ends up being a little bit closer to July. I wanted to highlight some changes to the pricing calculator, the partner pricing calculator that you might have seen to accompany these changes. So we've now made it more clear in a easy drop down for new subscription or renewal subscription in our pricing calculator, and also now surface the new pricing as the at the forefront. So just a couple of minor changes, hopefully to help you make that shift. Of course, we welcome your feedback on the partner pricing calculator, and we'll be making additional updates as we add more SKUs, more currencies, which we'll hear about in just a second. So number two, kind of an order processing and pricing update related to these pricing changes. And we wanted to make all of our partners aware of a key change to the adoption pricing program, which some of you may have leveraged in the past. It's a great competitor takeout program that offers customers the chance, if they have an existing enterprise agreement, to gain a free period of time on our Education Plus or standard or teaching and learning products in order to ramp up and then commit to a 3-year subscription. Historically, we have had, at least in the last period, the last year that this program has been available, the last cycle, we've had an accompanying 3-year discount for Education Plus specifically that has mirrored the general multi-year framework. That's been 15%. But given these broader changes to our multi-year discounting structure across the globe, we have made the decision to eliminate that discount from the 1st of April. So from the 1st of April, there will be a 0% discount associated with deals that go through adoption pricing. Of course, the free period will still exist, which is a great way for customers to gain a lot of value and again, push away maybe perhaps a competitive solution. But there will not be an accompanying 3-year discount with Education Plus orders on adoption pricing. This is going to be updated in our discount guide on Partner Advantage. It's due for an update quite soon. If you do have any deals in flight, please work with your Google sales or channel counterpart and try to close those before March 31st. Okay, it's been a while since we've talked about the GWfE transition, G Suite Enterprise for Education, but for those partners out there that have G Suite Enterprise customers who are nearing the last time they can, hopefully waning months they're ever on that legacy SKU, we wanted to shed a little bit of light on an order process that is happening in the background that will ensure that none of those customers auto-renew. Okay, so it's important for us to ensure that none of these GWfE SKUs auto-renew and continue for another annual cycle, pushing the GWfE transition into 2025. I'm sure you have heard me and the rest of the team talk enough about that. You do not want to hear us mention that word ever again. So here's how we're helping our partners prevent auto-renewal. Of course, many of you are on top of this and are already transitioning customers from that SKU to Education Plus or another one of our products. But I want to let you know, for those GWfE annual transitions that are due to transition in 2024, we are, with our help of our licensing specialist team, automatically applying a short, what's called a grace period, to the last 5 days of that subscription. What that does is it ensures that at the end of those 5 days, which is aligned to that subscription's support end date, that the subscription ends and it does not auto-renew. So if you've forgotten to, for example, set the behavior on the subscription to cancel, we've got your back. We're ensuring that subscription does not auto-renew into a 2025 transition, or that we have to work on some complex billing and crediting. So again, this is taken care of by our licensing specialist team in the background, and of course does not apply to any customers or orders that are already in process for transitioning to another SKU. Okay, last update, I believe, on the order ops and pricing side of things, and this is an exciting one. So we did launch, as a part of our recent pricing and licensing changes, access for education customers on 4 new currencies, and we're adding 4 more this month, which I'm really excited about. We'll update the pricing partner pricing calculator as soon as these prices are live. So I know there might be some partners who are really chomping at the bit to get visibility of these prices, we'll have them in the pricing calculator shortly. But for your visibility, these currencies are Colombian peso, Chilean peso, Peruvian sol, and Korean won. Each of these currencies will only be accessible to customers located in the associated countries, and you should see these currencies start to be available in Partner Sales Console very soon. If you haven't yet enabled multi-currency support in your Partner Sales Console, your primary Partner Sales Console, you can do that. Actually, I think just by going to the billing page and then going through a flow to add another currency, there's some guidance on Partner Advantage about that as well. All right, another launch. This was a launch that we had the pleasure of briefing you all on a month ago. It was during BET, and our product manager Tim joined from a cloak closet from the Excel Center in London. So thanks to Tim again for joining. This product launch on February 29th. So Education Endpoint Upgrade is now generally available. Really exciting. What it does is it provides more device management capabilities for perhaps devices that weren't otherwise managed for fundamentals customers. And it's a new standalone SKU for customers to manage those phones and tablets. For those customers that might not be able at this point in time to upgrade to Education and Standard and Plus, where that functionality is also available. Pricing is $5 a user or a device a year. I'll get into a little bit more about the differentiation between users and devices. And similarly, we'll be updating the partner pricing calculator with availability across all of our currencies. Now, I believe 22, adding 4. So you get the idea. We'll have this information on the partner pricing calculator shortly, within the next couple of weeks we hope. Just to remind everyone about the value proposition of Education Endpoint Upgrade, or EEU, it brings the best of our device management natively within Workspace to hopefully more customers that are managing Android devices or tablets or even iOS devices today. It enables security controls like context-aware access and admin rules, and it has more flexible licensing scenarios. So for those customers that want this functionality but don't necessarily have the budget to upgrade fully to Standard or Plus, they'll be able to license only the users or the devices that they need. So with this launch on February 29th, Education Endpoint Upgrade is available today, self-serve in Partner Sales Console. So we're excited about this from an operational perspective, of course, because this is a product that can be ordered without any assistance from Google. Go right in your Partner Sales Console, and you can add a new service and select Education Endpoint Upgrade. As I mentioned, there are 2 different models, and Tim talked about this last week. If you want a deep dive on EEU, please go back and rewatch that session. The user-based licensing model is what launched a couple days ago on February 29th, Leap Day. And coming soon in the next couple of quarters is the device-based licensing model. Just to note on the user-based licensing model, you may expect to see a trial option. There currently isn't a trial option for EEU, but partners should be able to transact both 1, 2, and 3-year deals self-serve at MSRP, no discounting in Partner Sales Console. Okay, final 2 announcements, and then we'll get to what everyone really wants to hear about, which is Gemini. So last 2 announcements, training. We have had a lot of recent updates coming out of the BET conference across both Chrome and Workspace. Our product portfolio continues to grow. It's exciting. So we developed another batch of product training series events, on demand and live webinars available to a global audience that help customers and partners alike get a better sense of what's recently launched, and then also catch up on what might have been available all along. So recommended for all sorts of audiences to attend, both partner and customer, and we'll drop the link in here. Just a big plug to tune in if you have extra sales reps or even Google specialists who need a little bit of brush up on what just launched. And last but not least, final training update. We have just updated the Google for Education sales credential as a part of the Partner Advantage program. So all of our registered partners, authorized partners for Google Workspace for Education are very familiar with these credentials. 2 sales and 2 technical. This is the 2 sales credentials. And funny story, the previous credential had a video of me from back in 2014 talking about Chromebooks and state testing. So it could have used an update. A lot of the content, of course, stayed fresh, but we're really excited to roll out new modules with more information specifically about Workspace for Education, core value proposition of Workspace, core value proposition of Chrome Education Upgrade, and Chrome OS Flex, as well as objection handling for Workspace for Education. And of course, what we hope everyone's an expert on, but you can always go for a little bit more training on customer success and renewals, our best practices there. So this is available, of course, if you ever need to keep your credentials active or you just want a little bit of training. This is available via Partner Advantage and the general training portal for all Google Cloud credentials. All right, with that was a lot of announcements. So thanks for bearing with me. I'm super pleased and very excited to invite Vivek, our product manager, who's working on Gemini Education, to the stage. Vivek, take it away.
Thanks, James. Hi, everyone. As James mentioned, my name is Vivek. I'm a product manager on the Workspace for Education team, where I lead our Gemini education efforts. I'm very, very excited to talk about the Gemini education upcoming SKUs today. But as always, before we dive into the content, a reminder that the information is confidential, is being shared with all of our partners under NDA. Also a reminder to keep this information under embargo until April 17th. And do not share that with customers just yet. That being said, the mission of our project here and our team is to basically bring the best of AI to Google for Education. And the way that we're going to do that is the upcoming Gemini Education SKUs. So today we'll talk through those SKUs, what they actually offer, their pricing, their discounting, as well as the current features, plus a preview of the future roadmap. And then at the end, we're just going to end off with some of the best practices, timelines, as well as FAQs that we expect. All right, without further ado, let's dive into Gemini Education. I want to start by actually anchoring on what Gemini is. I feel like there's a lot of questions around what actually encompasses within the Gemini brand. And Gemini is basically an umbrella brand that encompasses our models, our products, and our platforms. So from a model perspective, Google and DeepMind are continuously investing a lot of resources to really create the cutting edge LLM models. And so the Gemini models represent those most capable AI models that are widely available today. We have also rebranded Bard to Gemini, and it's part of the best way to access those Gemini models themselves. And then lastly, we're trying to bring Gemini into all of our products themselves. So bringing those capabilities powered by Gemini models, powered by Bard, and then bringing them into the product surfaces where users are actually interacting with Google day to day. And then lastly, I think you may have seen an announcement around the Gemini API and Gemma, which are probably meant to help developers build with Gemini. So I like to look at it from a visual perspective of who the end users are. From a consumer perspective, they'll have access to Gemini, which is available as an app, as well as on the web, gemini.google.com. They can also get access to Gemini through their Google app or through Gmail, Doc, etc. For developers, we have the Gemini API, which is available in the Google AI Studio, as well as Vertex AI. And then from a business and education perspective, we'll have Gemini for Google Workspace and Gemini for Google Cloud. All right, diving into the SKUs themselves, we'll actually offer two different bundles of Gemini Education and Gemini Education Premium. Respectively, they are priced at $20 per user per month and $30 per user per month. This is the retail price for annual commitments. Within the bundles themselves, you get access to Gemini across the entire Google Workspace for Education stack, so meaning Docs, Sheets, Slides, Gmail, as well as Meet. We're really excited to also bundle in a Gemini standalone experience. So this gives you an access to Gemini 1.0 Ultra, which is our most capable AI model available today, and it'll be included with commercial data protections, privacy, security. The Gemini Education bundle comes with a usage cap of 1,000 uses across all features per month. We'll dive a bit more into what uses actually are. And then from a Gemini Education Premium perspective, it includes everything within Gemini Education and includes additional features in Gemini Meet, things like take notes for me, attend meetings for me, teleprompter, etc. And it also includes full access and usage of Gemini across all surfaces. And we'll dive a bit deeper into those features themselves in a second as well. Let's talk a bit about what the usage limit actually means. So when we talk about 1,000 uses per month, how does that actually get calculated? There are essentially three different ways in which a use is counted. So the first and second are really the simplest ones. If you go to gemini.google.com and you enter in a prompt, every time you enter in a prompt, that counts as one use. Similarly, if you're using Gemini for Google Workspace, meaning you're in Docs, Gmail, Sheets, etc., anytime you input a prompt and generate some content, that is another use. Revisions of generated content also count as a use. And then the last example here, last category, is accepting a suggestion from Gemini. So there are a few features, something like Smart Fill suggestions in Sheets, where we proactively give you suggestions for what we think you might be trying to create. If you were to go ahead and accept that suggestion, that also counts as a use. All of these limits reset on the first of each month. So even if you were to start your subscription during halfway through the month, you still have 1,000 uses for the remainder of that month. And then on the first of the next month, it will reset. None of the unused usage actually carries over, and it cannot be shared with other users. For customers and for users that are starting to hit that limit and they're really, becoming power users of Gemini, and they're starting to see that they need more usage, the recommendation is to actually upgrade to Gemini Education Premium. From a UX perspective, we will warn the users as they're approaching that limit, just in case they're starting to get close, and we can let them know that, hey, you're about to reach your limit for the month, and so then they can make decisions accordingly. All right, I'm sure folks are very excited to talk about the discounting. So to recap, our actual retail price for an annual plan, it comes out to $20 per user per month and $30 per user per month. For our flex plans, meaning if you would like to purchase it only for a few months or even a month at a time, the flex plan has premium on it, so it would be $24 and $36 per user per month, respectively. We're very excited to offer an intro offer up until July 17. It will be at 20% for all annual commitments across both add-ons. And for our EDU Plus customers, we'll actually have a 25% intro offer, again, available across both SKUs. We will update the partner pricing calculator very soon. All right, so how do you actually order the SKU itself? Within Partner Sales Console, it will be available via self-serve, so you can have a flexible plan as well as the annual plan. However, note that the introductory discount is not available via self-serve in Partner Sales Console. If you would like to take advantage of that introductory offer, you would have to go with the Assisted by Google approach here, where you can get the annual form filled out, annual plan filled out via the order form. As a reminder, those intro offers are valid until July 17. And also want to have a shout out here for having both SKUs coexisting. So if you have a certain number of your users that only need Gemini Education and then a subset that will need Gemini Education Premium, they can have that as well. Now I'm going to dive into the actual feature set, and I want to kind of anchor us on the statement, right? Gemini is meant to be your private and secure AI assistant built into the Google Workspace for Education tools you know and love. And the reason I really like this statement is to focus on this last bit here around the Google Workspace for Education tools you know and love. We've heard from our customers during trials that they are very excited about the opportunity to use Gemini directly within the existing workflows that they use on a day-to-day basis, without having to have a learning curve on how to do that outside of that workflow. And so, for example, if you are a teacher writing a lesson plan, maybe you are an IT admin writing a knowledge base article, a lot of that work happens in Google Docs. So within that context of, hey, I'm writing a document, can I get some help from Gemini to create that first draft very quickly? And then I will provide my own expertise and knowledge to then make sure that that content is fine-tuned to what I need. Similarly, if you've created content within slides and you're trying to create engaging visualizations for them, in this example here, this is one of my favorites, an educator is creating a fan fiction around Charlotte the giraffe. And Charlotte is Curious George's cousin. And Charlotte is out in Paris hanging out in front of the Eiffel Tower. Now that's an image that's very hard to actually find if you're just searching for it. With Gemini, you can create that image yourself and have that directly within slides. Lastly, maybe you're creating a professional development agenda. Maybe you're trying to set up a science summer camp and you would like to understand all the different tasks that need to go into that planning itself. With Gemini and Sheets, you can create an entire template, agenda, budget, project plans from 0 to 1 very, very quickly. And the idea there is to help our users really focus on what they bring to the table, which is their expertise and their knowledge, instead of having to spend a lot of time going through and doing the repetitive tasks and within Sheets. We're also very, very excited to talk about the Gemini era and how that folds back into these SKUs. So as I mentioned earlier, within the bundle description, you get access to Gemini 1.0 Ultra, meaning users that have the Gemini education license attached to them can go to gemini.google.com and they will essentially see something like this. It is still Gemini, but it is powered by Gemini 1.0 Ultra, our most capable AI model to date. It is also comes with all of the same security, privacy, and compliance security needs as the rest of Workspace for Education. So none of the data that is entered is ever stored, and it's not used for training. I want to take a second here to talk about the two versions of Gemini that are available. Gemini, which is available to all 18 plus users at no cost, and Gemini, which is included within the Gemini Education Bundle. For Gemini, which is available at no cost, admins can enable that as an additional service within Admin Console, and that's available today. It is, however, provided under the Google Terms of Service and the Generative AI Additional Terms of Service. In other words, the consumer terms. The user interaction may be used for training the model or may have human review, and it runs on Gemini 1.0 Pro. Comparatively, the version of Gemini that is included with Gemini Education is once again available to users over the age of 18, but only for users with a Gemini Education license. It is also covered under the Google Workspace for Education Terms of Service and offers enterprise-grade data protections. That means all the same privacy, compliance, and safety requirements that we adhere to within the Google Workspace for Education terms also applies within Gemini here. One of the most important aspects of that is that the user interaction data is not used for training, or can you ever have a human review that? Also, very importantly, it runs on Gemini 1.0 Ultra, which is our most AI-capable model today. I know I kind of mentioned this, I think, probably 5 times in the last 2 slides, but I really want to anchor on this one key component, right? As always, we really want to make sure that our customers and our users feel safe using their own private data within the context of Google Workspace. And so Gemini Education is offered under the Google Workspace for Education Terms of Service, meaning we never use the data for training or improving the models, and we don't ever share the data with other users or other institutions. Now, this is what is available or soon will be available with the Gemini Education SKU launch. I'm going to take a second here to talk about the 2024 roadmap. As always, this is under NDA, and we want to make sure that we set the right expectations with our customers. So we ask that you don't share this with customers yet as we get ready to make that announcement. All right, that being said, one of the most exciting upcoming features that I personally am quite excited about is this idea of having a horizontal integration across all of the product surfaces. So meaning if I'm in Docs and I've already written up maybe some research-based tips for providing meaningful student feedback, I already have a really nice document. Now I need to create a presentation that I'm going to then present to my executive board, for example. In that instance, I'm going to end up spending at least half an hour, maybe a few hours, creating a presentation from this content that I've already done a great job laying out within Google Docs. And then realistically, after the presentation itself, I'm going to end up spending another 30 minutes writing up an email summary of the same content. With Side Panel, the idea here is to transform content across all of these surfaces in a very meaningful and quick manner. So if I've written up a doc, imagine I could create a whole presentation just based off of that document, and it comes pre-made with all the right content, the right summary, and the right images. Of course, there's a lot of fine-tuning that you can do to make sure it actually matches your branding, maybe it matches your tone of voice, but the idea is to go from 0 to 1 very, very quickly. I'm also very excited that Gemini is coming to Google Chat. And so I feel like I see this all the time. If you're gone out of the office for a few days, or if you're out sick, you come back and you have 20, 30 pings. How can I catch up really, really quickly? With Gemini Chat, you can get summarizations of threads that you've missed, so you can quickly understand what's the latest there. And you can also start doing some additional work directly within chat. So if I want a summary of a project, but I don't want to open up Drive and look it up, I can do that directly within chat. One of the key admin-facing features that we get requests for is around usage. So I bought a number of Gemini licenses, I've assigned them, I know my users are using it, but I don't actually know how many of them are actively using those licenses. I don't know how many of them are using them on a daily basis. With these usage reports within Admin Console, the idea is to give admins that visibility into the actual license usage itself. Then taking that help me write functionality that we talked about earlier, the idea is to superimpose it with Smart Canvas, right? Smart Canvas offers a lot of templatization for that content, and we know a lot of our users have created custom templates for their needs within Smart Canvas. With this integration, you could say, help me write an email, and the email actually creates an email draft within Docs that you can now collaborate with others on, you can comment on, and once you're ready, it's a one-click send. We also talked about the Gemini summaries within Google Chat. This idea here is to actually bring it outside the context of the chat itself and within the product surface. So if I'm looking at 5 different messages or threads I haven't read, I can get an instant summary for all of them directly within my chat home. Now, these last few are the features that we talked about earlier that are only available in Gemini Education Premium. And as I explain them, maybe you'll see why. Attend for me is a really, really exciting feature here where you can actually pre-enter your discussion notes, your agenda items, things that maybe you would really like the folks on that call to discuss, but you yourself cannot attend, for example. And so the concept with Attend for me is that those questions will pop up during the actual meeting itself, and Meet will start taking a video snippet of the conversation that happens around that discussion. So even though you can't attend, you can make sure that your voice is heard, the discussion points that you have brought to the table are discussed, and then you can get a video snippet of that discussion so you can review it later. Take Notes for me is really meant to help everyone be present in meetings. I'm sure you're familiar with this idea where you have one note taker who is trying to keep up with all that's being said, trying to capture everything, trying to capture the action items. But as you do that, you're not actually able to participate in the meeting yourself because you're just trying to take notes. And so with Take Notes for me, the idea is that everyone can focus on just the actual discussion points and the conversation instead of taking the meeting notes. With Google Meet, you can now have it take all those notes for you, take those action items, and it'll also capture video snippets of really contentious or discussing points where there's a lot of discussion. Of course, we'll then send a summary email with all of that to all the participants immediately after the call. One of the really fun use cases for Google Meet that we're seeing more and more often is the idea of using Meet to present. And so with real-time teleprompting, the idea is to help presenters using Google Meet to actually present their best selves. So you can be more effective and have a presentation that's more confident and more smooth. Of course, one of the questions we get a lot is around language support. So Gemini Education will be available for US English at time of launch, but we are actively expanding those language support. So in Q2 of 2024, we'll roll out additional Gemini features in Spanish and Portuguese. And then later this year, we'll roll out Japanese, Italian, French, and German. Now, what do we do between today and when the add-on is actually available? So there are 2 questions that we're starting to get here. What about the customers who have already purchased Gemini Enterprise? For these customers, they can continue to retain their subscription for the remainder of their contract. And starting in H2 of this year, we'll ensure that no new customers can subscribe to the older SKU. If the customers need to migrate to any of the Gemini Education SKUs, we'll also review those requests via an escalation process, and that is something that we can support. However, note that customers who already purchased cannot request new discounts as we can't make subscription changes retroactively. And then what about customers who want to purchase now? So customers can continue purchasing the existing Gemini Enterprise offering if they have urgency or budget timing concerns. But otherwise, waiting a bit longer may make sense for the Gemini Education SKUs. Lastly, we'll send this out. We have Partner Advantage. We have a lot of resources to help you drive that strong initial Gemini experience with your customers. And yeah, we're very excited to share that in early April. And I think that's it for me, and hand off to Fabi.
Thanks, Vivek. And hi, everyone. My name is Fabiana, and I am the Workspace for Education channel lead for LATAM. In this session, we are going to give a deep dive on the recent partner incentives updates. So last week, on February 29th, we announced some changes to our Google Space partner incentives. As you all know, 2023 was a year of GWfE transitions and renewals, and it was a year for solidifying our existing customers' commitments. And when we look at 2024, it's all about to continue to grow, continue to drive preference for the paid edition, so conversions from fundamentals to paid, and also expansions. So the main goal of these changes is to be aligned with this strategy. Reward our partners for driving customer value across the full life cycle, with particular focus on customer acquisition and expansion. So there are three areas which we are targeting. Transform partner economics to drive new and expansion, as I mentioned now. Reignite growth of our Workspace channel business with Gemini, as Vivek mentioned here. You might have noticed that we are in the AI moment. But we also didn't want to lose sight on the incredible work that our partners have been doing in customer success. So we have to keep on driving renewals and customer success excellence. So starting April 1st, we are going to reward partners across full customer lifecycle, increasing partners' ability to profit from Google Space. We'll have increased rebates for new customer sourcing, for expansion, and also for adoption of Gemini products. This balances earnings across reseller discount and rebates to reward for growth. And what does this mean for you, Workspace partners? This is an opportunity to have increased profitability through new customer sourcing and also expansion. This decreases earnings for partners that focus largely only on renewing customers, and the net effect increases the opportunity for partners that source new customers and drive adoption of new products in existing customers. So to briefly here, there's meaningful earning potential for partners who grow and expand their share. Let's now take a moment to run through each of these changes. So number one, related to sourcing new customers, currently we have the deal registration incentive and SMB growth incentive, and we'll be evolving these based on the size of the deal. The incentive is going to be named just new customer rebate, and we are splitting between large deals and smaller deals. Large deals for deals of more than $10,000 net to Google, and the smaller deals less than $10,000 net to Google. So the rebate is increasing from 30% to 40% for Premier partners, and from 8% to 15% for partner levels. So these two incentives have different eligibility requirements, okay? So as we have nowadays for deal registration and SMB growth. Number two rebate is a new incentive. It's an expansion rebate, and it applies to all customer sizes. This is for SKUs upgrades and also for upsells for seats growth. The rebate is 10% on ACV for both Premier and partner levels, with a requirement of 15% growth year over year in the same fiscal quarter. There will also be a Gemini expansion accelerator promo rebate this year at 15% on ACV for Premier and partner levels. Number three is for it's the margin, the discount itself, which will be effective on June 2024 for EDU SKUs. So for new and upgrade businesses, we are keeping the discount at 20%. There is no change from current. And for renewals and upsell, we'll see a revised number from 20 to 12%. And for transfer customers, which were not applicable previously, the discount will be at 5%, except for EMEA, Japan, and South Korea, where for legal reasons, the renewal margins will apply at the time of the transfers. And number 4 here, we wanted to recognize the tremendous work by our committed partners in all regions who have worked alongside us to build large renewals bases, and partners that have shown robust and consistent growth in new business acquisition and renewals excellence will be invited to participate in this new workspace for education renewals incentive. This is only by invitation, and your partner manager will be contacting you about this if they haven't done so already. Just to provide everyone with a view on how these new incentives will play out for Google Space for Education, let's have this example here using a 3-year commit deal structure with a premier partner. In yellow, you can see the discount, the margin, and in green, you can see the rebates. So let's follow the numbers here in the slide. So number 1, there will be increased earnings for the first year with increased new customer rebates of 40%. Here you can see in yellow the discount of 20% and the rebate at 40%. In years 2 and 3, you can see the discount is stacked at 20% since this is a 3-year commit. Then going to number 2, in years 2 and 4, we are considering upgrades to happen. And as you upgrades, the partners can unlock the new expansion rebate of 10%, besides the 20% margin. And then number 3, in year 4, the partner discount is reduced to 12% when the deal renews, as opposed to now when it would be a flat 20%, okay? From a timeline perspective, there was an announcement, and MSA went out to all partners on February 29th, as I mentioned before. The Partner Advantage portal has also been updated with all required resources. And yesterday, we had a Partner Advantage webinar, but if you missed it, there will be another session next week on March 12th. In April, that's when our workspace commercial discount changes and the introduction of new and the expansion rebates will take place. And then later in June, we will launch the EDU discount changes. We know it's a lot to process, so I invite you all to check all the details on the Partner Advantage portal and reach out to your partner development manager or your partner advisor in case you have any questions. So that's it for me. Let's go to Q&A. So I invite you, James and Vivek and Jeff. Is Jeff here? Jeff, to come back here. Thank you.
We did it. 45 minutes with enough time for Q&A, hopefully. So thank you to all who've already asked questions. Please keep those coming. Please do use the question. We can see the chat, which is great, but it's a little easier for us to respond in line in the question area. So please do pop those questions in. I'm going to go ahead and get it started. And wow, Jeff, you've been answering so many questions. I've got to find one you haven't answered. Let me start with one that Marco has raised, which is just about a reference school program. Marco, we're going to need to follow up a little bit and get in touch with our impact and adoption teams that are responsible for that program. So just hang tight. We'll get you an answer there. Let's talk about Gemini and its relationship to the consumer terms versus the workspace terms of service. There's a question about whether Gemini will be included in the workspace TOS and therefore be covered by some of the DPA and privacy agreements that are required under European GDPR law. So I'll pass this over either to Jeff or Vivek to see if you can share a little bit about the kind of service summary associated with Gemini.
Yeah, happy to take that one, James. Great question. And I think this is really why it's important to separate Gemini that you can enable as an additional service within your admin console versus Gemini that you can get as part of the Gemini education bundle. So when we talk about Gemini, the additional service, that is part of the consumer terms. It is not covered under the Workspace for Education terms of service, meaning the data that you enter can be used for model training. All the other things that we associate with the Workspace for Education terms of service don't apply to that version of Gemini. However, if you were to purchase the Gemini Education SKU, the bundle, the access that you are getting is all covered within the Gemini Workspace for Education terms of service. So all of the same security, privacy, compliance needs that we meet within those terms of service also applies to that version of Gemini. So it's really important to distinguish between those two and how we think about what Gemini is being accessed by our users.
That's a great answer. I think that's one of the main selling points. I came out of our North America Partner Forum last week. Just so excited now to be able to open up Gemini.google.com under the Workspace terms of service, of course, with a licensed Gemini education license. So I'm thrilled about that. I think that's going to be huge. I use Gemini quite a bit to write responses to emails and get ideas for birthday messages and everything else. So really exciting into that. Thank you for sharing that. We are actually, let's see, we have a couple more questions coming in. So bear with me while I get caught up. There's a question about classroom labs and the relationship of classroom labs to Gemini education and the actual SKU, the product that we're launching. So again, Vivek, Jeff, are you able to comment on how those two programs either are similar or different?
Yeah, great question. I'm actually very excited to answer that one. So talking about classroom labs, right? That is really the AI track of our pilot program. So maybe for folks that are not familiar, we have a whole program, where we constantly look to educators and try and get them involved within the development cycle itself to make sure that their voices are heard and they have a direct influence on the actual way that our products are designed, ideated, and built. And so as an extension of that, we've created the AI track of the pilot program, also sometimes referred to as classroom labs. And the idea there is to engage our educators early on within the product development lifecycle, get their input on the features that we're building, making sure that they're addressing the educators' use cases and their needs to ultimately then create a product that actually makes sense for them. So that's what the purpose of the classroom labs is. There is no direct correlation between the AI track and the Gemini education SKUs, depending on the features that are being built out, depending on the final product that is actually developed. They may become part of the Gemini education SKU. They may also become a part of EDU Plus. That is to be determined once the actual features and products are flushed out.
Fantastic. Great. That's really helpful. And hopefully, Andrew, that answers the question. This is a question from Astrid. I'll take it because I think it's one that it is worth expanding on a little bit. So the question was, what happened to Duet AI? So again, as Vivek said, if you took a nap over the last 2 weeks, it was very easy to miss changes in the AI product portfolio. The space is moving so fast. So what was previously Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise was upgraded, changed its branding to Gemini Enterprise. That is actually still available for purchase today for education customers. Of course, now you all know that Gemini education SKUs are coming, right? You're under embargo until April 17th. So let's talk just a little bit about what the strategy might be between now until then. You aren't none of us are able to talk to our customers about the Gemini education SKUs, but we still do want customers that want to get their hands on generative AI in the Google ecosystem. We want to give them a chance to try Gemini Enterprise, formerly Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise. So there are two pricing options for that product, Gemini Enterprise. There's an annual commitment plan and then a flexible plan. Flexible plan, of course, is based on license usage, and it can fluctuate month over month, depending on how many licenses are assigned to users. And we actually think that in the next month and a half, until the education, we're out of embargo and the education products are out and transactable, we think that our partners should really help customers move towards flexible plan offerings. Of course, if a customer does have the budget and wants to commit to Gemini Enterprise, formerly Duet AI, they can do that. they will just need to transition on their renewal to Gemini Education SKU, which of course is purpose-built for our education customer base. So just a little bit of strategy there. Of course, over the next month, our partners should also be thinking about, what does a pilot offer look like for Gemini licenses? Remembering that these licenses can be assigned to different users within an organization. What sort of services might be bolted or sold alongside a Gemini pilot kit or set of pilot licenses per se. So again, I look at 2024 as a great way for all of our customers to get their hands on this generative AI functionality, and our partners. You guys are a key part of that mission. So with that, let me transition to the first question at the top that I see here, Daryl. Hey, Daryl. And Jeff, I'm going to pass this over to you. What about trial licenses for Gemini and Gemini Education?
Yes, that's an excellent question. So, obviously we know that customers are going to be really interested in Gemini. They're going to want to try out all the features. Because of, things are still very new, right? And there are a lot of features. Because of this, for a number of reasons, we are not going to be offering a wide-scale trial program for Gemini for customers. Our recommendation is that for customers that want to try Gemini, that they purchase a few licenses. Obviously, they can do that just on a monthly basis if they prefer. But we recommend that they purchase a few licenses, that they try Gemini that way. For if you have, potentially a very large deal or very strategic customer, and there's a possibility of, for example, rolling out Gemini to all their staff, and they are very keen on getting a trial. Please do talk to your partner manager. We'll see if there is room to support some way of having them try Gemini, but we're not offering trials at scale.
But Jeff, maybe you can share a little bit about Demo Workspace CDU.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for partners, we have Gemini actually available today in Demo Workspace CDU. So
Demo GFE. Jeff, we're still using the previous URL. My goodness.
Demo GFE, thank you.
I put that in your head.
Thank you. So Demo GFE, demogfe.com. All right. So yes, if you go to demogfe.com today, you can access Gemini trials. So if you haven't signed up for an account, please go to demogfe.com, sign up for an account. There's a big register button. If you have an account, log in. In the demo creator, you will see something that is Gemini. And so it'll allow you to create a demo that you can then use to demo to customers. For now, I think we've talked about this previously, you will get a Gemini license for 4 hours, which we know is not a lot of time. We're looking at expanding that time for you. And we'll let you know as we work on that. But for now, you get the license for 4 hours. You'll have access to all the Gemini features. So we'd recommend, setting that up perhaps an hour or two before your customer call. That way you have some time to get everything set up, work on it with your customers through the call, and then that license will be automatically removed. But you can always just sign up again if you need it for another 4 hours. And there's some training material in there as well. And let us know if there's anything else you need.
Great, Jeff. Thank you so much. Bastien, I'm going to go to your question next. So thank you for that. This is related to the incentives. As you'll notice, Bastien is asking whether there's a deal acceleration fund accelerator for EDU Workspace. And as you'll know, if you read through some of the cloud comms that came out on Partner Advantage specific to Workspace Commercial, and then of course, hopefully paid attention during Fabi's slides, there were some slight differences, and this is one of them. So Bastien, I'm glad you picked up on that. There isn't a separate or new pool of deal acceleration funds for Workspace for Education. PSF, of course, is still available for closing deals for post-sale deployment, but for early pilots and proof of concept, which is really the nature of deal acceleration funds. A lot of our partners have already developed really robust trial guides and proof of concepts. And of course, for free to pay for fundamentals up to plus, we offer a very generous proof of concept period in the form of a 50-user, 60-day trial period. So we're not offering any deal acceleration, but do check out some of those other resources. And thank you for the question. So this is a great question again from Daryl, who's kind of looking ahead and saying, well, what about from a competition perspective? Do we have a kind of a comparison between Gemini and some of the other products out on the market, both either from a consumer or an enterprise perspective? And that's something, actually, I'll turn over to the group. I have a couple of thoughts, but I'll see if Vivek and Jeff, if you guys have heard this or know of any resources that are being created.
Yeah, we're actively working on some compete resources that we can share with the group as well, to help navigate that positioning between some of the competitive products.
That's great. Thank you for that. And of course, we've recently started pushing more of that compete guidelines to Partner Advantage. So hopefully, as soon as we have that, we will package it up and nestle it in with some of the other compete assets that we have on Partner Advantage. Certainly, there might be some out there today. Actually, I haven't done a search in Partner Advantage recently for that, but there might be some that are more geared towards the commercial side. So worth a quick look. All right, we've gotten some great questions, so thank you. We're almost at time, so I'm going to pause for another 10 seconds. See if something comes in. Type away furiously if you are waiting to have your burning question answered. Okay. That's it. We're going to wrap it up here. Just a big thank you, of course, to our presenters and to Jeff, and for all of you for tuning in. This was a lot of information. So thank you. Thank you for your investment in this product. And we're really excited about the direction we can take Gemini for Gemini education with all of you as our partners on this journey. So thanks again. We will see you back in April. We're targeting April 24th. It's not yet in the calendar or on the site, but just look out for those communications. So a little bit more than 6 weeks. We'll be right back here with all sorts of updates, we're sure, for Workspace for Education. And we're also going to be weaving Chrome education into these briefings as well, which we're really excited about. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great rest of your week.